Hello again, welcome back to the Denny channel. Appreciate you tuning in once again. Thank you for, closing off the Pornhub tab on your browser. Thank you for turning off CNN. Thank you for putting down whatever you were doing and taking the time to listen to me for a few minutes. And yeah, thanks to everyone that expressed some concern. In my last video, I had a little bit of a health scare and I ended up checking myself into the hospital. So I appreciate the well wishes and the comments on the last video. Even some of the private messages I got were nice. So shout out to you. God bless you all. I hope you're doing well in this crazy world. Thanks to a couple subscribers. Please subscribe if you are new, if you enjoy these type of videos. Check out some of my older stuff and see if it's up your alley. But yeah, hope you are doing fairly well, navigating your way through this crazy world and dealing with the hurdles and the challenges of our modern society. And what a whack crazy world, what a upside down, ass backwards, interesting, evolving, sometimes frustrating society we do live in, especially if you're my age. You know, I'm a middle-aged person now. Most of my viewers are males and bachelors or single males in their 40s or 50s or even older. And it is interesting to compare how life was in the past, hearkening back to a different time where things seemingly were easier, less complex, and kind of made more sense. Possibly a happier time for some, and maybe not. Maybe some of you appreciate and prefer to live in this modern, technologically evolved and smartphone internet era. But it is crazy. It's hard to deal with. I mean, I don't even know where to start. Just reflecting on the past weeks, the past months, past few years in one's life, especially here in the West. I am in Canada, in a fairly large city in Western Canada. I'm sure it's similar to anywhere around United States, in some parts of Europe, dealing with similar issues. So yeah, it's not even it's not easy to know where to start. There's so many different aspects to the different frustrations and confusions we have trying to adapt to today's life, and a lot of things to complain about, bitch about, a lot of things to be concerned with. Possibly even be fearful of what's coming in the future and what direction things are going. I mean, just looking around, just walking around, going about our day-to-day lives, business, work, and all that. You know, I am a person that travels around for work. I'm a tradesman that goes all over the city, all over the suburbs, even small towns. Most of the time is in the big city, in the densely populated areas. I do side hustles and I do my main job, which is locksmithing. And I also live fairly central where, I'm out and about walking distance to do my errands and obligations, shopping, whatnot. And, I live in a fairly nice area, but it's close to some areas that aren't so nice, and there's kind of overlap and things happening. And I guess the first thing I would notice is in the past decade, especially here in Canada, is the massive demographic change and shift. And, you walk around some areas, and some areas I travel to that are not too far away from me, and it's like hardly anybody's even speaking English anymore. And I've touched on that in previous videos, but you live in Canada and English is the official language, but hardly anybody's speaking it as their preferred language. Now, I know most people, even immigrants and refugees, do know how to speak English. They may not speak it well. Some speak it well, and kudos to them. But amongst each other in these communities, they really prefer not to. And it's evident as you walk around. And it's just kind of weird, and kind of like, when I was growing up, Canada was a certain thing. It was predominantly Caucasian, and almost everybody spoke English. And the rare time you would encounter somebody that didn't speak English, it would be kind of crazy. It would be like, wow, this person doesn't speak English. That's kind of wild. Now, interestingly enough, I am an immigrant, as some of you know through past videos. My parents came here from Croatia. I was a toddler, so English wasn't even my first language, but I did learn it quickly. And even by the time I started school, first grade, I knew English as a kid. I was a little bit of a lower level than some of the other kids, but by third grade, I was caught up to everybody. So that was all good. And my parents, back in those days, like the early 80s, Canada was different. It was hard to immigrate here. You had to have a reason to be here. You had to have something to offer, or you had to have relatives. And luckily my dad had a sister here. And even then it was a difficult process. We got rejected a couple times. Eventually got accepted because my dad was a skilled laborer. He was a welder by trade. And my mom had a skilled trade, but it wasn't in demand in Canada. She was a shoe designer. She sewed leather and stuff for shoes. Back in the day, you had they weren't these mass produced factories in third world countries for slave labor. You actually, in my mom's home city in Croatia, she built shoes and they sold them right after they were built, and they were custom made and all that. It's pretty cool, shoemaker, shoe design, whatever you call it, shoe repair, she did as well. But there wasn't a demand for that in Canada. Even at that point in the 80s, it was still a lot of stuff was starting to be imported, and and those jobs that my mom did were already filled. So she ended up having to become a cleaner, janitor, custodian, whatever you want to call it. And my parents finally got accepted and had to pay a lot of money and start working right away, paying taxes right away, and learning the language. And they had to take lessons, and you had to pass the citizenship test, which was a couple years later, to become citizens. And it was just a long pain in the ass process. And they did it, and They became contributing members to the society here in Canada, paying high taxes and working, producing. My dad produced products as a welder, as a steel fabricator. He produced products that were assembled for oil field production. So he worked in machine shops. And, that stuff, very important, right? Everything's made out of oil, and you need oil and gas to run machinery and drive our vehicles and heat buildings in this Canadian climate of frigid weathers, So he had an important job, and he did this as an immigrant. So that's why a lot of people from Eastern Europe came here, because they had skills that this country needed. And that's what was going on in the 80s. And there weren't a lot of immigrants in total. Like, even with the people coming here from Europe, it was still a small amount that were coming every year. And very, very few from the third world. I mean, people from India were immigrating at that time as well when I was a kid. That started actually back in the 70s under Trudeau's old man, Pierre Elliott Trudeau. He kind of started this whole vision of Canada being this melting pot, this multiculturalism, this experiment that has, in my opinion, failed. So that was happening even before my time, but a lot of those people were in Eastern Canada, like Ontario, had a lot of people from India and Pakistan. Here in Western Canada, it wasn't really like that. There was a little bit started in the early 80s. And then, maybe by the 90s, there was a fairly, at least a noticeable population of brown people, and some people from the African continent as well. But fast forward to the last 10 years, I mean, it's you can't even compare it. It's absolutely on a whole nother level, on a whole nother 5 levels. The rate of these people coming to Canada are I can't even wrap my head around just visually how it's changed in every single big city I've been to in Canada, and even some of the places in the US that I've traveled to, I've noticed it. And it's just what the hell is going on? Why is this happening? I mean, you could make a couple really long ass videos about why, whether it's the whole argument, it's all because of, globalists and liberal policies that allow this to happen, combined with maybe some of the more unlikable aspects of major corporate structures, and maybe the boomer capitalists that started this by importing all this cheap labor so that big companies can increase their profits. I think all of that's true. But at the end of the day, I'm not smart enough to figure out exactly why it's happening. I'm sure it's multifaceted. But I just see the end result. And that's what most middle class, just normal, regular guys like me that are just trying to get by in the world, make a living, pay our groceries and our utilities and our rent. Well, I pay a mortgage, but all the same. And I just noticed this stuff, right? Every person almost that I encounter at a gas station that's working, or a grocery store checkout person, or anyone that's cleaning something, cleaning my gym that I go to, cleaning some of the buildings I work at. It's all people from third world immigrants, and I don't know what that's doing to our society, other than it seems to be affecting the culture in a way where it's like there's no identity, right? It's all these different groups that kind of self-segregate, and they just stay within their communities. And a lot of like the liberal argument is like, well, we want to have all this like kumbaya, peace, harmony, and everyone tolerates each other and coexists. And we do, like we're very tolerant here. I'm tolerant. I'm not gonna like fuck with someone just because they don't speak my language or from a different race. I mean, I don't really blame them for coming here. I mean, I know where they come from. These are war-torn dictatorships, and they're shitty places to live. There's a reason why there's millions upon millions that are coming to North America and as well as Western Europe. Like tens of millions are fleeing these parts, and our Canadian government seemingly prioritized them to come here, and they get fast-tracked. And I mean, I assume that's the case. I don't see how it could be any other way. Like, I don't think they're going through these long processes and difficult journeys to get here, because there's just so many of them. It's like almost every car you see that's later in the evening, like after hours, or after rush hour maybe, it's all like black and brown people driving Ubers and food deliveries and Amazon trucks and whatever. Even if they're not working for those, like they're still out there, I don't know, they might have other jobs that they work shifts or something. But yeah, I'm like really looking around like I'm the minority, and is that really like the worst thing in the world? I don't know. I'm just speaking as someone as recent as 10-15 years ago. I was still working and driving around and still doing the same sort of stuff I am now, but it's just the change when you dump that sort of quick I don't know how you even articulate this, but when you excuse me, I just had a double cheeseburger, so I got but I guess when you implement and sort of flood, I don't know if flood is the term, but flood your environment and your society with like different groups of people in large numbers, it's gonna like kind of taint the recipe, the cake that you're used to, right? It's like you have this strawberry cheesecake, and then you I don't know, add something that you're not used to. Like if you don't like cilantro or something, sprinkle some cilantro on your cheesecake. It's gonna take some time before you acquire the taste, right? And that's kind of what's happening here. It's like it's too soon, too quick, too many, and you could tell it's making some people uncomfortable. And it's not like this huge deal, like it's really affecting your quality of life in some like super negative way, but it is it's just different, and it changes the vibe and kind of the dynamics of interpersonal business stuff that's going on. There's when you more and more you're dealing with language barriers and different cultures, and there's just annoying things that you see that people come here that haven't really assimilated and adapted, and it's these kind of annoying behaviors that maybe are acceptable in their culture but are kind of irritating and frustrating for people like me that grew up in a certain society where norms and customs, that's what we grew up with. And when that changes a little bit, it does kind of have a impact that's not ideal. Yeah, I mean, some of these guys are just walking around just on speakerphone, talking loud in the language you have no idea what they're saying, and just people around you like that are close to you that are just not speaking English. It's kind of when this is happening like 80% of the time, you kind of scratch your head like, what the hell is going on in our society now? Like, what is this? What is Canada? Like, what is our culture? What's acceptable, And it's not just like, the people that are different color than me. There's white people that aren't speaking English. A lot of them are from Ukraine, and we just accept everybody. We take everybody, from refugees to just people that want to come here now, and it's supposed to be this great thing, but I think there has to be reasonable restrictions and control, and maybe just slow that down just a little bit before, I mean, people are having a hard time as it is. There's, a lot of people that, especially younger, like Gen Z and stuff, that born and bred here, that are trouble getting jobs, getting employment, living at home. And a lot of them are going to be living at home for quite some time if things don't change. So I kind of feel for them. Everything's super expensive, and I don't know how these people like that are here from Africa and stuff, like I do a lot of work in malls and strip malls and other places, and I know a lot of them do work, like they have the driving jobs, the Uber jobs and whatnot. But what I see a lot of is a lot of them just sitting around relaxing, just enjoying themselves. They're just chilling. Like, if you go to, like, if you're in the States or something, you go to a Canadian city, go to like maybe some of the outer neighborhoods that are where the demographics are a little less people that look like me, and go to like a shopping mall or something, or a small shopping center, and you'll see a lot of people just chilling. A lot of chilling going on, sitting, drinking coffee, talking amongst themselves. A lot of like the Tim Hortons restaurants, if you know, coffee places. There's just groups and groups of these like African dudes that they just sit and chill and chat to themselves in their language, of course. And and it doesn't look like they're working hard at all. And then I know people my age that look like me, that born and bred in Canada, or at least grew up here, that are working 2-3 jobs, working their ass off. And we don't really have time to chill. We got shit to do, because if we don't, we're not going to be able to pay our mortgage, right? And I don't know how these people are getting by. I know maybe they're better at conserving. Maybe they know how to save. They know how to stretch their dollars. I'm sure, they maybe buy a bag of onions and a big bag of rice, and that's what they have. And I have heard rumors that, or claims I should say, from people that like, oh, they're getting all this money from the government, it's all welfare, that's why they can chill for most of the time, and they don't have to work hard, they can just work a few days a week driving or whatever, and it's enough. But I really don't know. I haven't researched how much refugee status people do get paid by the government of Canada. If you do know, leave it in the comments, but make sure it's legit. Don't just make up some bullshit thing like they're getting $100,000 or something. I don't really think that's the case. But they must be getting something, because like I say, they're just chilling, right? And a lot of us other people are grinding and paying our taxes so they can have a subsidized life. That's seemingly what's going on, and that's frustrating, and that's ass backwards to me. You know, you should be rewarded for hard work. If I'm working 2-3 jobs, like, motherfucker, I want to go to Hawaii every year, right? I want to have a nice air-conditioned condo and a nice vehicle. To me, that's what living in modern day Western culture, if you're working hard, if you have a skill, if you're contributing and producing results for your society, for your community, why not be rewarded for it? But that's not what's happening. We're not being rewarded at all. We're being punished for hard work because we just get taxed more the more money we make. So our tax system is fucked and stupid. Actually, I'd go to the Bahamas instead, or Las Vegas or something. But yeah, that's just the way it is, man. It's like, I see the people that work hard, that are working construction and all that, and they, you know, they don't seem to really be getting ahead, you know. It seems, you know, old cliche, but the rich keep getting richer, the poor staying the same, and like, it's almost no middle class. It's just that's disappearing, and that's really whack. I don't really understand that. That's heartbreaking to see, you know, so many people that are almost losing their middle class status. They were, and then they just keep dropping down further and further because their wages aren't going up enough to keep up with this inflation and all this mismanagement and poor leadership in governments in many countries. So yeah, that's just kind of crazy. That's what it's become. And then there's also this crazy drug mental health crisis that's on top of all that, that I can't really wrap my head around. It's just more and more people strung out, and a lot of people just not working. Like, I mean, I talked about all like the, you know, how you're seeing the different demographics, you know, flooding in. But what I also noticed, and I've made video about this before, is just like the bigger cities here in Canada are still growing. Like, there's still a lot of hustle and bustle and things going on, a lot of activity economically, especially here in Alberta. Like, we have just tons and tons of people moving in. There's a lot of construction. You know, there's new fucking buildings like everywhere you turn. There trains and shit like that being built everywhere. Public transit, really changing the society, just like in our city here. And but one thing I still can't wrap my head around is like how there's just sheer amount of people that are not working, like, during the day, either driving around or walking around or doing errands and stuff, when you think most people would be working. It still confuses me when I see this. It's like, how are you even affording to live, you know, if you're not at work? And I know there's, I can sort of put together some of the different reasons. Like there's a work from home culture and work from home policies that have still going on since COVID. A lot of companies have adapted that and implemented that. And so, companies, some of them have hundreds of employees, and, if even half of them are working from home, they can, I guess, leave the house at any time as long as they're getting their stuff done and sent in by email. Maybe there's just more free time that people have now, so they're out running around doing other stuff during the day. Or maybe it's just still a lot of people are unemployed, and maybe a lot of people walking around are just lazy and getting some sort of benefits. I mean, that's another thing. I don't know. I mean, there's definitely a welfare state here in Canada. I don't know if it's as big. Like, I think in Alberta it's not as much of a thing, but even in my condo building that I live in, I noticed there's a few able-bodied people, and coincidentally, and I'll just let it be known that they do look like me. These are Caucasians, and I haven't really approached them. I'm not going to be rude and say, hey, like, do you work, bro? Like, how come I always see you around during the day? You're walking your dog. Like, I never see you going to work or anything. And there's these new people that move in, and then there's this couple, and I think one of them the dude might be on the spectrum or something, and his wife might have some kind of disability, but they still seem able-bodied enough. I mean, I see them walking across the street. We have like a big shopping complex and stuff, and they're perfectly capable of getting their groceries, and they're going to the bank and all that, but yet they don't seem to have jobs. And it's like, I don't know what their excuse is, and I don't know how they're paying rent without full-time employment. And I've seen a few people like that in the neighborhood, where it's like you can just tell that you see them out at 10 p.m. or at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and it's like, well, they're probably not working, right? So it is weird, and I don't know, like, personally, if you're, collecting disability and stuff like that, welfare, to me, it makes sense. And that just another claim about how society is whack is like, it's kind of the title of this video. Me growing up in the time I did, it would never ever make sense if you're able-bodied and at least can rub two brain cells together and speak the language and have two working hands, how you couldn't get a job. At least, unskilled labor, like you can work on construction sites. I'm sure you could operate a cash register at a store. A lot of stuff you could do you don't require a lot of skill and a lot of focus. But still, some people just prefer not to work. It's kind of crazy to me. And it's like, I can understand if you're have like a neurological, something serious where you can't work, or you're in a wheelchair, or you're missing a limb or something. I understand that, and I don't have a problem with living in a society that has a little bit of a safety net to help these people to at least afford a place and food to eat so they can survive. I mean, I don't think we should let these people rot, out on the street or something like that. But it's these, it all harkens back to common sense. I mean, any reasonable person can look at a person and say, okay, this person's obviously not fit to work, and this person can work. But yet, sometimes it's fucking backwards. Like, the person that I would have no problem with, staying at home because of a disability and collecting a government check, that person sometimes is working. Like, I know people in wheelchairs that still go to an office job. I know people with, other health problems. I knew a guy recently who's dealing with cancer treatment, and he was still going to work. He'd have to miss a few days here and there for his chemo, but he'd come right back to work as soon as he was good enough to do it. Right? And then you get these other fucking guys, like, I don't know if, like, if some of these ailments or claims that, like, you can't work, like, oh, I have anxiety. Like, that's an excuse now to not work. Like, what the hell is that? When I was a kid, that didn't even exist, anxiety. If you did, you'd get over it pretty quick. Our elders knew how to cure us of that pretty fast. Exposure therapy and whatnot. Let's get your ass to work. A good kick in the ass. A good talking to, a little pep talk, and you'd be good to go. Anxiety, ADHD. All these different disorders that people have, and it's crazy. I even, I'm not on really dating apps much, but the few times I've kind of dabbled in it, there's like these women, and I'm sure guys do it too. They post it on their, like, dating app. Oh, I'm bipolar, or I have ADHD and this and that, anxiety, social, whatever, like all these, like, kind of lame ass things that should not be excuses to sit at home and rely on us hardworking taxpayers so that you can sit at home during the day and do stupid shit. Probably not doing anything productive. How are we gonna have a productive, forward-moving society if we just accept that, like, some people are just lazy and they're victims, they're just self-pity, and they just kind of feeling because they're not 100% right in the head, and they're not 100% this and that, and they have some challenges that they're dealing with. They just feel entitled that, oh, everything should be given to them, and they want to live in some socialist utopia where everybody else should fund your lifestyle because you feel like you're just incapable of doing it yourself. It's such, like, bullshit thinking, and it's not good for society at all. We need productive people. If you can get up, if you can speak, if you can do the work, get out there and do the work, man. Contribute to your community. Fucking do something. Volunteer. Too many people just, they're on their damn computers, on this OnlyFans and all this stupid shit, just rotting their brains, just consuming stupid things, junk food and all that. It's just kind of frustrating to see, and I know it's difficult, like I was saying earlier in this video about millennials Gen Z that going to be living at home for a while, and even when they get jobs, even skilled jobs, like, they still can't afford a house. I mean, what type of society are we living in where you can have a skilled job, you could work for like 10 years straight, and you still don't even have enough for a down payment on a house? Was it the average down payment now is like 25-30 grand? Like, you know how hard it is to save up 30 grand in today's world with how much groceries, and let's say you have to pay rent. Like, there's no way you're gonna save 30 grand if you're paying rent on top of it. The only way is if, I guess, you live home until you're 30 or 35. Then you can save up for a down payment and then probably a mortgage. But I mean, if you get a mortgage at the age of 30, let's say, and that's being kind, you're kind of lucky if you get into the housing market at 30. For the amount the houses and stuff cost now, you're looking at a 30-year mortgage. So you're going to be 60 years old by the time it's paid off, assuming you don't remortgage, or you probably at some point you're going to take out another loan for renovations and maybe an emergency medical expense or something. So you realistically maybe 35 to 40 years of loan payments, not counting maybe your student loan. It's absolutely insane. I mean, what kind of world what are we heading towards here? It's kind of madness. Like back in the day, you could work some brainless factory job, a guy right out of high school, not even worry about college or university, get a factory job or a construction or something, or learn like a trade that back in the day was easier, like a car mechanic. You'd learn that in like 6 to, well, maybe, I don't know. The older cars, they were a lot simpler. So I guess 6 months, maybe a year, and you could be a trained auto mechanic like back in the 50s or 60s. And you'd be good. I mean, as a mechanic back then, you could have a stay-at-home wife and 2 kids and a house. I mean, absolutely bonkers in my lifetime, in such a short period of time, how our world has become this drastically different, just flipped on its head, crazy place that we're dealing with now. And I'm in the middle of it. I'm not like even close to like a boomer retirement thing. I'm actually just like in the millennial, like I'm right on the cusp of Gen X and millennial. I think if I was born like 6 months after, I would be a millennial, but I just snuck into the Gen X category, which is fine. So yeah, I've seen the change throughout my adult life. The internet kind of came out when I was, I don't know, about around just after high school. Like the internet had just started like as I was graduating from high school, like 1997, thereabouts. So 98 or whenever that was. I guess internet wasn't in all schools or something. Thinking way back, like how much internet did I really do in high school? Not much. It wasn't really a thing. Until like grade 12, I guess. But anyways, I know I got caught up in that thought. I like totally lost track of like the implementation of the internet and how, like, was I still in school and all? Yeah, I was still in school when the internet was there. But yeah, so I've seen it all. I've witnessed the change in real time, and I can tell you it's a hell of a thing. What's happened here in the West, in our culture and our society, and it's crazy. I don't know what's going to happen, as I said, but we live in interesting times. Very divided. That's another thing I've never seen in my life up until the past decade, or even worse, the last half decade. Just how people are divided, and how stuff that made sense, when I was in my 20s and 30s, you're seeing stuff happen now where it just makes no sense to somebody like me that's lived life before. Like you look at somebody like recently, I guess the best example now is a guy like Charlie Kirk, who was murdered. For me, like, if this had happened like 20 years ago, it would make absolutely no sense that a guy would be murdered for just speaking and basically just echoing simple talking points of one of the two main political parties in the US. He was basically just a young Republican, nothing radical about the guy. He wasn't threatening in any way. He wasn't any type of lawmaker that was making laws. He wasn't the president. He was just a guy that was sharing with young people that there's a different path. More traditional values and, nuclear family. He was, in his opinion, what was the way, he felt that people should go to have a better life and have a better and healthier society. And all he did was speak. He went out, which is what you're supposed to do, what made sense when I was younger. It was all about debate and talking to each other. He was armed with a microphone, right? And like I say, nothing crazy, nothing radical, nothing hateful. I mean, I followed the guy. I thought he was very intelligent. It was very impressive what he was able to accomplish with his organization. Extreme kind of crazy work ethic. Something that people should have been inspired by. Why isn't like everybody inspired by that work ethic and try to do something themselves? But we have this culture now in this society of like this victimhood and feelings and emotions and anger and this dumbass who decided he was gonna commit cold-blooded murder and ruin his life and his whole family's legacy now, just because a guy basically just hurt his feelings. He didn't like what the guy was saying. It's absolutely insane, and it's a microcosm of why today's society is fucked, why it's whacked, because you have people like this that and it almost, from my angle, it almost seems like Charlie was killed because of a big misunderstanding. Like, maybe if you just listen to the guy and not buy into the brainwashing and hyperbole that's, because Charlie would get clipped, like his quotes and stuff, some of his speeches or some of his debates, and these social media people that are against him, left wing, whatever you want to call it, they would put it out of context and then put it out there, and then people like this killer would have this interpretation that, oh my God, this guy's horrible, this guy's like the second coming of Hitler or something like that. And really nothing can be further from the truth. If this guy would just have followed and listened to Charlie, unedited, unfiltered, I don't think he would. I don't know for sure. Obviously, mental health comes into is a factor, and he might have had a predisposition to act in extreme violence like the way he did. But see, the problem is, like, you have these people that are teetering on the edge, that are mentally unstable, and then when you get people on the internet that are pushing false narratives and quoting people out of context and just lying about them, and then other people are believing them, and then you eventually brainwash enough people into believing something, and then out of those people there's going to be like one or two that are crazy enough to act on it, right? And you see how people were like celebrating and happy that he was murdered, and that just, to me, absolutely makes no sense. Like I say, 20 years ago, if this happened and you saw people celebrating, like, this would never have happened 20 years ago. There's these mind viruses, and something really messed up is going on. And it's because of the internet, it's because of propaganda and brainwashing and pharmaceutical drugs, social programming, social influencing, social media influencers. All this stuff is really changing people's brain chemistry, I think. And it's causing this divide, this division, where we've gotten to this insane and very scary point where people that are probably just in their day-to-day life, I mean, these could be teachers, nurses, engineers, whatever, that are happy that a man got executed brutally in front of his family, in front of young kids that are going to be traumatized forever, in front of thousands of teenagers also that witnessed this. And it's like, it's no big deal. And this was all caught on video, and people were sharing it, and some people were laughing. Look at the blood coming out of his face or whatever. Absolutely crazy. I mean, we live in a world now where every week, it seems, people are sharing snuff films, and we're watching it on these screens in real time, the real thing. And I mean, all I could say is society is whack. I mean, back when I was a teenager, there'd be like these videos called Faces of Death, and that was like this really taboo underground thing. And if you actually saw something like that, it'd be extremely rare, to witness anything violent. And a lot of those videos are actually fake, like they were kind of bullshit, but they'd show some news clippings or news footage and have a little bit of gruesomeness to it. But up until recently, all that stuff, a lot of violent incidents were censored, and they wouldn't show it on TV or on the local news. And the only people exposed to this stuff were first responders and medical people. But now everyone with a phone could watch someone getting killed or something absolutely horrible happening. And there's websites on the dark web that show this stuff, and I think it's having an effect on people. It's desensitizing, and when we see someone get killed, and and then we get brainwashed into thinking some politician or some influencer, some conservative guy just talking normal, just saying his piece. Apparently we're supposed to have freedom of speech, so you got killed for speaking is insane to me. But when you see so many deaths and you're desensitized, and then you want to get rid of somebody, it's not going to be as hard. You're going to have more of a stomach for it, right? And unfortunately, it's going down this path where we might see more of this disturbing trend of just, you don't like someone, don't like how they make you feel, this will just get rid of them. It's absolutely crazy, and it's scary, and sometimes makes you afraid to share your thoughts and opinions. That's why I don't really do politics too much on my personal social media. I'll touch on it here and there like I did in this video, but I'm not really that political. I do kind of have my views, and there's certain people that I respect and admire, and I try to keep an open mind, but murdering someone for their beliefs is absolutely insane. And even more insane, I mean, it's not that insane that one crazy person did this, but the fact that maybe millions were celebrating and secretly happy about it is what really scares me. And it should scare everybody. That's not the world we want to live in. It's, if you really go down that rabbit hole, it's something that like you don't even want to think about that kind of stuff, because sure, you have loved ones and all that, and you worried about their safety as well if they're active on social media and politics. Yeah, people are committing violence against each other now. It's not good. But yeah, I would do what you can to make your immediate community better. Just try to be nice to people, be as friendly as possible, try to help out your community, keep working hard, keep chipping away, stay active, maybe make sure you vote, whether it's for your mayor or governor or premier or president, prime minister, in a way that where you can bring back some more common sense policies, common sense on immigration, common sense on crime, stuff that made sense when we were younger. We don't let people out of prison if they committed 32 felonies. Repeat offenders, unbelievable that they're being allowed to walk out. I don't think this was really the case way back in the day. All the shit that just doesn't make sense anymore. It's making our society crazy and more dangerous. Vote on bringing down inflation. Vote to reduce crime, clean up homelessness. Yeah, like vote on sensible immigration policies, not like let's bring 1 million people in every year that are unskilled and untrained and unwilling to speak the language, unwilling to assimilate. Just stop it with that. It's getting crazy. People are becoming edgy, uncomfortable. This is not good. So yeah, just do your best. All we can do is hope for the best and hope that we get better leadership and hope that we can turn the tide and steer it into more of a productive, more reasonable direction. Get some more stability, some peace and calm. Try to tune out the noise in your personal life. Focus on what's important, like your own health. I'm actually now just heading to the gym. So focus on your health, your friends. Be good to your friends. Be loyal. Be good to your family, whatever's left of them, if you have any family left. And that's the most important thing. I'll try to do better is not to get so flustered and frustrated when I see shitty behavior around here or stuff that doesn't align with common sense or doesn't quite align with my values or how the world should work. I should try to be a little more tolerant and understanding about, maybe not everyone thinks exactly the same like me, but... And also call out the blatant obvious shit. If someone's being rude, disrespectful, like parking in a handicap zone or taking up 2 parking spots, or on a public transit, yakking away on their phone on speaker, or with those stupid speakers blasting their music, just call them out. Just say, hey man, that's rude. You don't need to do that. You're in a public place. You don't... That's not really acceptable here. And you're gonna get some pushback. They may get mad at you, but you know, try to use your judgment. If the person looks insane or dangerous, don't engage too much, or don't push the issue. Just you know, and a lot of people around you will have your back. I think most people are still fairly reasonable, common sense people, but yeah, it's just hard to say. So do your best out there. Take care of yourself. Please subscribe, leave a comment, leave your thoughts on, you know, maybe on any of the things I said in this video. And yeah, give it the old thumbs up. It helps the channel. And other than that, once again, God bless you. Take care of yourself. Be good to the ones around you, and let's make this world a better place. Share this video. God bless you. Peace. We'll see you on the next one. Denny. Bye-bye.